This loser thought transferring schools would finally give him a break from getting his ass handed to him every day. Turns out luck hates him because the new school isn't peaceful at all. It's basically a hentai convention disguised as high school, where students punch, kick, and sometimes grind on each other like it's some weird cardio class. Meanwhile, our loser spent years getting roasted, stomped, and slapped around like the universe's personal dildo. Now he's tossed into a meat grinder of sweaty fights, bruises, and kids who fight harder than they flirt. Can he survive without getting bent over by every random thug with Diddy Oil, finally land some hits of his own, and claw his way out of the school's nightmare-level fighting arena? It all starts with our loser boy Gilso riding in the car, glued to his phone like it's a life support system. His fingers are flying over the screen, completely ignoring his dad yelling from the front seat. Mom tries to step in, giving him the sharp, "I'm serious" tone, but he's deep in game mode, probably imagining himself as some hero instead of the sad, weak potato he feels like. Through the rearview mirror, his father glances back, and that's when something shifts in Gilso's expression. His eyes look different somehow as one thought keeps looping through his head on repeat. His dad must be ashamed of having such a weak, pathetic son. All those moments of getting bullied flash through his mind like a highlight reel he can't turn off. His mother speaks again, this time sounding irritated, telling him that if kids at the new school hit him or mess with him again, he should just leave. She insists she doesn't want him under any pressure, that he should live however feels comfortable. Gilso mutters something under his breath, calling her a liar. He remembers clearly that his mom was crying and begging for the school transfer. Now she's the one saying he can quit whenever. She's the one who wanted them to move in the first place. Eventually, the game ends in Gilso losing. He puts the phone down and stares silently out the window. A dark thought creeps into his mind. Maybe he should just end his life. As they pull into Gates High School, his heart starts pounding hard in his chest. The moment he steps inside, all he can think about is running away. He wishes something would happen. Some disaster, maybe even North Korea invading. Anything to get him out of this. Standing in front of the classroom, he hesitates before managing to get the words out. He introduces himself as Gilso, mentions that he is from Seoul, and notes that this is his first time studying here. He lowers his head and mutters that it is nice to meet everyone. Deep down, he wishes time would freeze in that moment. No more awkwardness, no more tension. Then something unexpected happens. Applause fills the classroom. The students actually seem excited to see him, welcoming him with what looks like genuine warmth. Some call out welcomes, others smile and say nice things. Everyone seems genuinely friendly. One boy whispers to his fellow about how they finally got someone from Seoul in their class. Another one laughs and tells him not to act like some country bumpkin. Someone else calls out, inviting Gilso to sit with them. Gilso stands there shocked, realizing that they actually seem nice. After the bell rings, one of the boys approaches him directly, calling him the new kid. Gilso looks at him cautiously and responds quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. But inside his head, flashbacks start flooding in, scenes of past bullying replaying like some nightmare he can't escape. He remembers a boy yelling at him about bringing the wrong kind of bread, threatening him, asking if he wanted to die. But this time, the boy's tone comes out friendly. He places a hand on Gilso's shoulder and introduces himself as Jin, acknowledging that being new means not being used to things yet. He suggests going to the convenience store, offering to show Gilso around the school. Gilso, still tense and nervous, agrees to go along. Outside the store, holding a juice box, Gilso finds himself thinking something that hits him hard. This is literally the first time he's casually gone to a store with someone like this, like an actual friend. Jin starts laughing and points toward his friend, making some joke about the guy's eyebrows. Gilso looks confused, not really getting it. Meanwhile, Jin keeps going, joking around about how that's why the friend's girlfriend dumped him. Gilso cracks a faint smile and jokes that the eyebrows are kind of charming. Jin fires back, teasing that Gilso must have terrible eyesight. The friend snaps at Jin, telling him to worry about his own face first. Gilso watches the students around him, everyone laughing, chatting, casually throwing their arms around each other. Everyone looks so genuinely happy. The thought crosses his mind that maybe, just maybe, he could feel that way too someday. Then he accidentally bumps into someone, and juice spills all over the guy's shirt. The boy reacts, pointing out that it got all over him. Gilso immediately panics, apologizing frantically and offering to pay for dry cleaning, saying he'll see him in class. But the boy just smiles, pats Gilso's shoulder and tells him it's fine, though he appreciates the offer. Then he just walks away like it's no big deal. Seeing that, Gilso stands there stunned. The guy was so kind about it. The thought starts forming in his mind that maybe he can actually live a normal life here. Back in class, Gilso closes his bag and decides that's enough for today. He thinks back on the classroom vibe, where everyone was so chill, so genuinely friendly. He realizes he was probably scared for no reason. A bit of relief washes over him as he thinks that maybe moving here was actually a good thing. Soon, Jin approaches and inquires about Gilso's plans for the day. Gilso admits he does not have any. Jin smiles and proposes that Gilso accompany him somewhere, to which our boy agrees. Outside as they walk together, Gilso starts thinking about how they've been walking for quite a while now, wondering where Jin is taking him. He questions Jin about it, pointing out that this place seems pretty far. Jin smiles and explains that he wants to show him a special place, that whenever a new student joins, going there is basically a requirement. Gilso hesitates for a moment, then decides he should just go along with it. He turns back toward the city lights and suddenly realizes just how far they've walked from the inner city. Jin suddenly questions if Gilso has ever tried boxing. Gilso admits he has never. Jin laughs softly and warns him that he will need a bit of courage, noting that they are almost there. As they walk, Gilso notices bruises covering Jin's body. The sight brings back memories of his old school. The bullying, the fear, everything flooding back. He begins to worry that it might be happening again, and hesitates. When he stops, Jin notices and asks about it. He stops for a moment, forces a smile and suggests that he should probably go now, maybe some other time. As Gilso turns to leave, Jin places a hand on his shoulder and reassures him that they are almost there, insisting he take a look, he will love it. Gilso hesitates but ends up following anyway. Together they arrive at this large factory-like building. Bright lights glow from inside the place. A sudden thought strikes Gilso that it was all a lie. The sweetness, the smiles, maybe it was all fake. Maybe he's about to get oiled up all over again. But as soon as the door opens, what he sees leaves him completely stunned. In the middle of a huge fighting ring, two boys are boxing while the crowd all around them screams at the top of their lungs. The air is filled with shouts, the sound of punches landing, bodies dodging, and pure adrenaline pumping through everything. Gilso just stands there frozen. Noticing his reaction, Jin smiles and leans slightly closer, inquiring if he is truly shocked by what he sees. He explains that this is their school's fighting arena, their biggest privilege, only for their students. As Gilso stands there in disbelief, a voice shouts from the crowd, calling out to them. Jin grins and tells Gilso, that's the president of Six Gates High, Jang Chung. Jang looks at Jin and questions who he has brought along. Jin clarifies that Gilso just transferred today and is in his class. Gilso glances at Jang, noting how absolutely terrifying he looks, and wonders if this guy is really just a high school student. In the boxing ring, the boy with thick, heavy eyebrows points at Jin and yells that he's coming for him, insisting he will teach Jin not to make fun of his eyebrows. Gilso is pretty shocked seeing Jin getting ready for the fight, when suddenly the same heavy voice greets him. It's the same tall guy, introducing himself as Jang Chung, the president of the Six Gates High Student Council. As soon as Gilso sees him, only one thought runs through his head, that this guy is huge. All around them boys cheer and shout. They're fighting, but somehow they still look like friends. Jang laughs loudly, noting that this year's freshmen seem interesting. Meanwhile, Gilso keeps wondering who this guy really is. Jang explains that this is the real face of their school. Seeing Gilso's confused expression, he continues, clarifying that there's no bullying here, but there is violence, and it only happens inside this ring. Gilso reels at the revelation while Jang locks eyes with him and acknowledges that Gilso has probably been through a lot. He emphasizes that the school is for people who stand equal in the face of violence. Gilso stares at the ring, repeating the words in his head that they are equal, in the face of violence. Then Jang lays out the rules. Rule 1 states that only Six Gates High students may enter. Graduates, dropouts, and expelled students are banned. Rule 2 specifies that every fight is one-on-one, and that no weapons are allowed. Rule 3 declares that the Student Guidance Council serves as referees and decides when a fight ends. With this, he rests a hand on Gilso's shoulder. Suddenly, another voice calls out, asking if the new kid has arrived and where he's been. Gilso turns to see the boy he met earlier, who signals him to come up as they need to settle the cleaning fee. Jang chuckles, noting that Gilso's opponent is already ready, and suggesting he learn while he fights. Gilso tenses, trying to object while Jang continues with Rule 4 that violence outside the arena is strictly forbidden. Any conflict must be settled in the ring. Most importantly, he urges Gilso not to be afraid and to embrace the fight. Now Gilso stands alone in the center of the ring, his heart pounding as the noise of the crowd presses in on him. As he looks around, memories flash through his mind. He recalls being bullied every single day, feeling powerless and afraid. A wave of doubt hits him, and he wonders how he's supposed to find any enjoyment in a fight, especially against an opponent like this. Just then, the instructor raises a hand, signaling that everything is ready and the match is about to begin. Before the match begins, a few boys nearby start whispering. One comments that the transfer student is incredibly unlucky, having to face Kang on his very first day. Another, surprised, asks if Kang is popular, noting he still looks like a first year. The first explains that Kang is the younger brother of a student who just joined the school this year. Kang yells at the transfer student, challenging him to step forward, and warning that he would have gone easy since it's his first fight. Gilso stands frozen, trembling, and questions why he even agreed to this in the first place. Seeing his hesitation, Kang takes a step closer and threatens that if Gilso doesn't move, he'll come to him himself. Without warning, he rushes forward, ready to strike, but then something completely unexpected happens. The boys around them gasp in shock as a loud retching sound suddenly echoes through the arena. Everyone turns to see that the femboy has just vomited on Kang. leaving him in utter disbelief. Kang screams in fury, cursing loudly, while the nearby boys shout for the fight to stop. From the crowd, another voice bursts out laughing, joking about the vomit attack and marveling at the transfer student's completely unexpected skills. Gilso remains on his knees, hands covered in vomit, thinking about how someone like him, who has never hit anyone before, could ever hurt another person. He can't do this. Later in the bathroom, two boys talk. One admits he skipped the fight yesterday but heard it was wild. The other shakes his head that he missed out on the new kid vomiting and the crowd going insane. Meanwhile, Gilso crouches in a stall, silent, listening, and a sinking feeling spreads through him. He thought this was supposed to be a normal school. As the boys move past, one suggests a few rounds after school, and the other nods, craving the thrill. After they leave, Gilso reflects on what this fighting arena really is. He recalls Jang's words, "Don't be scared, just enjoy it," but he knows he can't even lift his hand to hit someone. Then the thought hits him that violence isn't allowed in school. What if he simply refuses to go to the fighting arena? Meanwhile, in the classroom, Jang powers through push-ups with two boys sitting heavily on his back, sweat dripping from his brow. As Gilso walks in, his jaw drops, completely stunned by the display. Jang laughs loudly, shouting that he's finally reached 1,000 push-ups and joking that next time he'll take 3 boys on at once. Pause. Gilso can only stare, unable to believe someone like this could be a high schooler. Noticing him, Jang locks eyes with Gilso, daring him to speak. After a brief hesitation, Gilso admits that he wants to know more about the fighting arena. The room immediately bursts into teasing, the boys laughing and jeering at his curiosity. Jang joins in, mocking him further by hinting that Gilso only has one real talent, and that's vomiting. A boy at the back cheers loudly, calling him Vomit Boy and claiming a kind of fandom after yesterday's chaos. Another boy shouts to see if he'll be showing up again today. Gilso bows his head, shaking it firmly, and declares that he won't enter the arena anymore. Hearing this, silence falls over the room like a hammer. Jang folds his arms, unimpressed, and points out that Gilso isn't even injured, implying that his retreat is purely out of fear rather than necessity. Gilso shrugs, claiming that he doesn't want to hit anyone and doesn't even find any fun in something like that. Hearing that, Jang steps close, grips his face, revealing that this means he can hit Gilso without limits. Gilso freezes, confused, while Jang moves aside and announces to the room that as school president, Gilso is officially outside the protection of the fighting arena. Gilso just stands there with disbelief written across his face. As Jang leaves, he sits in class with his head buzzing with thoughts about the protection of the arena, wondering what it even means. What kind of school is this? Soon Kang sneaks up behind him, scans the classroom, and confirms he's the new kid who refuses the arena. Our boy also recognizes them as the same guys from yesterday. Without warning, the boy shoves Gilso's head onto the desk, grinning. He leans in, claiming Gilso as his slave, and promising to teach him what life outside the arena really looks like. The rest of the class chats and laughs as if nothing is happening. The boy lifts Gilso's head and drives a knee into his face, sending him sprawling to the floor. A boy nearby smirks, calling it a clean knee strike. Another laughs, mentioning he heard Gilso transferred here because he got beaten up at his old school. The attacker looks down at Gilso, amused. He mocks him, claiming he could tell from the first punch that Gilso was the type to get beaten up. Then, in front of everyone, he orders him to show up at his class every break. Still on the floor, Gilso finally understands what Jang meant, that the protection of the fighting arena isn't about safety, it's a shield. Without it, violence is one-sided. It's only allowed against you. The boy keeps kicking him while Gilso sits there, realizing the truth. His downfall has begun all over again. After the beating, our kid goes straight to the staff room and reveals to his teacher that he wants to drop out, which surprises the teacher since it's happening after just a week. Gilso sits at his desk, explaining that he's already focusing on his exams and that it's what matters most. The teacher sighs, unable to change his mind, and tells him to do what he thinks is best. Gilso lowers his head with guilt pressing heavy on his chest. He's tried everything, but it wasn't enough. His parents don't deserve a failure like him. As he walks out of the school building, a quiet thought settles in. His nightmare is finally over. Starting tomorrow, life goes back to normal. Just as he thought it was over, Jang appears in front of him. His expression is sharp, his tone demanding, questioning why Gilso isn't fighting and what his problem is. Gilso flinches, caught off guard, and apologizes to the school president, though in his mind he knows someone obsessed with fighting would never understand. Looking down, he admits the truth that he has trauma. He was beaten mercilessly at his last school and reached his limit. He just wants to quit, but he really did try. Jang's grip lands on Gilso's shoulder, and with his angry voice, he calls Gilso even more pathetic than he had imagined. Meanwhile, Gilso stands frozen, stunned by the venom in his words. Jang scoffs at the idea that anyone needs to be a pro fighter. Skill doesn't matter. If someone has no teeth, they fight with their gums. No strength, fight with guts. That's what a real fight looks like. Gilso stares with disbelief written across his face, while Jang steps closer, gripping his collar, growling that right now, Gilso doesn't even have the courage to protect himself. Tears prick Gilso's eyes as he wonders why Jang is doing this, what he could have done wrong. Rage laces Jang Chung's words as he fires a warning that life outside isn't all rainbows and sunshine. Quit now, and Gilso will stay a loser forever. Later, Gilso walks down the street, lost in thought, when a voice calls from behind. He turns to see Kang and his friends blocking the way. Kang laughs, mocking Gilso for trying to leave school without telling anyone, and Gilso's chest tightens at the thought of how they even know. Kang steps closer, reminding him that leaving won't change anything. Someone has to be his punching bag. And ever since Jang started the fighting arena, he hasn't had a single one. His tone hardens, a hand pressing onto Gilso's shoulder, signaling that running won't end anything. Night falls. Kang and his friends drag Gilso into an alley, beating him without mercy. One laughs at how solid a toy he makes. Another sneers, calling him the biggest loser among the 6 gates. Blood trickles down Gilso's face with his body trembling, his mind screaming that he can't take much more. Meanwhile, Kang's laughter echoes behind him, reminding him he should consider himself lucky, because back when his brother ran the old 6 gates, Gilso would already be dead. Lighting a cigarette, Kang glances at his phone, checking the address his boys had given him. Hearing about the address, Gilso freezes with his eyes widening in panic. Kang grins, noting that Gilso lives somewhere fancy, then shouts the full address for everyone to hear, claiming that they'll meet there next time. Since Gilso refuses the arena, Kang smirks, claiming they'll have to catch up elsewhere. Hearing that, Gilso struggles to rise, but the others grab him, dragging him down. Panic sets in as he realizes how much danger his address has put him in. Kang leans in with his phone raised, signaling that Gilso better hold still, or else a picture of his battered face will be sent to everyone. Tears blur Gilso's vision, as he questions why this is happening, what he ever did to deserve it. He thought it was over. He believed the hellish chapter of his life had ended, but now it feels like an endless pit swallowing him whole. Every time he tries to climb out, the boys drag him back down, harder each time. Helpless, bleeding, and terrified, he wonders what he can do to escape this living nightmare. Just then, Jang's words echo in Gilso's mind, about not needing to be a pro fighter and fighting with guts. That last line hits him hardest right now that he doesn't even try to protect himself. Kang grips Gilso's face with his phone raised. He laughs at Gilso's screams and tells the others to hold him tighter, because it's hilarious. Tears sting Gilso's eyes as panic and anger collide. He can't understand why this keeps happening. Instinct takes over as Gilso snatches Kang's phone and flings it across the alley where it shatters on the ground. Fury surges through him while his mind spins, wondering what he even did wrong, as Kang yells at the others, furious that Gilso escaped and destroyed his phone. Still pinned, Gilso recalls Jang's lesson that guts matter more than strength, and instinct drives him again. He bites Kang's hand, drawing blood and forcing a scream, holding on with pure defiance. Kang slams him into the ground, clutching his wounded hand, rage dripping from every movement. Gilso sits there, blood on his lips and eyes blazing, daring Kang to feel the pain, claiming that even if he dies, he'll take Kang down with him. Kang is shocked and enraged that a rat like Gilso dared to bite back. He orders his boys to grab him, but Gilso refuses to go down easily. He fights back, throwing punches while remembering Kang's words about not needing to be a pro to fight, which gives him the confidence to do whatever he can. Seeing the bruise on his hand shocks Kang, and he orders his men to take Gilso down. As they charge at him, Gilso bolts, using the chaos to his advantage. In the next scene, Gilso steps into the fighting arena with determination written across his face. He looks straight at the school president and signals that he's ready to fight. Behind him, his bullies have already gathered, waiting eagerly to see him fail. From the sidelines, Jang watches with a faint smile, realizing that this kid is far more interesting than he initially thought. As the arena hums with anticipation, Gilso and Kang face each other across the ring, the crowd's murmurs adding to the tension. Nearby, a student named Park mutters that if he were in Kang's place, he'd finish the fight quickly. Another boy places a hand on his shoulder, warning him to stay quiet. The three of them exchange uneasy glances toward Jang, knowing they may have pushed things too far. Without warning, the fight begins. Kang drives a sharp kick into Gilso's stomach, forcing him to double over, and follows up with a punch that sends him stumbling aside. Smirking cruelly, Kang lands another hit squarely on Gilso's face. Blood spills from his mouth as he crashes to the floor, dazed and gasping for air. Hovering over him, Kang stands with disdain, mocking Gilso's pesky attempt to fight back. But even lying there, Gilso lifts his head and meets Kang's gaze with his eyes burning with quiet defiance. Kang notices the look in his eyes and growls furiously, demanding to know how he dares to look at him like that and telling him to lower his eyes. Kang slaps him hard across the face and continues saying that losers like him who forget their place and try to climb higher, this is what happens to them. Kang keeps striking Gilso, mocking him to stay in his place if he's such a loser. Each blow lands harder than the last until a final kick sends Gilso crashing into the arena wires. The freshmen watching whisper in shock, some saying Kang's cruelty is unreal while others wonder if Gilso might actually die at this rate. Kang pauses for a moment, catching his breath and wondering if he went too far, but before he can think more, Gilso starts to rise. Kang stares in disbelief, unable to understand how he's still moving after that beating. He steps closer, threatening him to stay down, but Gilso only meets his gaze and dares him to go ahead. For a second, Kang freezes, stunned by the resistance. Then Gilso's eyes flash red and his whole demeanor shifts. He grabs Kang by the hips and drives him backward with raw force, shouting that after all the pain he's endured, death would be easier than this. The slam shakes the ground as Kang hits the floor. Seeing that, the crowd erupts, some gasping that the weak kid actually has moves, others laughing at how fast the tide just turned. Meanwhile, Kang grunts, realizing he let his guard down at the worst moment. Gilso draws back for another hit, but Kang reacts first and lands a punch square across his face. With this, he mocks Gilso for thinking he could win with such weak punches. Fueled by anger, Gilso remembers Jang's words about using willpower and guts when strength isn't enough. Then, without hesitation, he slams his head into Kang's face, and blood bursts from Kang's nose. The freshmen erupt, amazed that Gilso actually has fight in him. Jang also watches quietly, noting that when adrenaline takes over, pain fades, though Gilso's body is already close to its limit. To him, this boy Gilso feels different. Back in the ring, Kang regains his stance and kicks Gilso back, standing tall as he taunts him. But Gilso rises again, staring him down coldly. He wonders if this is really the strength of the bullies he's feared all this time. The crowd begins cheering for him, and their voices push him forward. With all that in mind, Gilso charges ahead, determined to strike, realizing he has nothing to fear anymore. Just as his punch closes in, Kang's uppercut lands first, slamming into Gilso's chin and throwing him off balance. The blow sends him crashing to the ground. The arena falls silent for a moment before the announcer declares Kang the winner. Kang walks away, leaving Gilso lying motionless on the floor. Hours later, Gilso slowly wakes up, disoriented and sore, realizing he must have blacked out during the fight. He thinks about how he tried his best, that all he wanted was to hit Kang at least once. He reflects on his mistakes, how he should have read Kang better, taken his time, maybe aimed lower like he did before. But deep down, even through the pain, he knows he gave it everything he had. Frustration builds inside Gilso as he wishes he were stronger. Just then, Jang appears before him, and Gilso quickly gets to his feet. Jang notes that he seems to be doing better, mentioning that as student council president, it's his job to check on students who collapse during matches. He reminds Gilso that the arena isn't meant for anyone to die in. It exists to protect students. Hearing that, Gilso lowers his head. As Jang turns to leave, he adds that this will be the last time Gilso can be here, since starting tomorrow, he's no longer a student of Six Gates High School. Gilso remembers that he already applied to drop out, but something in him resists the thought. Jang nods and tells him to take care, but before he can walk away, Gilso calls out and asks what he has to do to become stronger. Jang pauses with a hint of surprise crossing his face, before he laughs lightly. He excitedly tells Gilso that helping weak students is also part of his job, but he wonders if Gilso is truly ready for what that means. Before Gilso can respond, Jang suddenly steps forward and drives a punch straight into his stomach. Blood bursts from Gilso's mouth as he collapses, gasping for breath. As the boy crouches beside him, Jang explains that this is only the beginning, and that one day he'll be strong enough to dodge a punch like that. Gilso stays on the ground, silent and trembling, thinking about how his entire school life has been spent in the way of others. He gets a flashback of his first year of middle school, when he was playing with his friends and a stray slipper came flying toward him. The boys quickly apologize, asking if Gilso is okay. He gives a weak smile and insists he's fine, but inside he knows that moment changed him. That was the day he realized how powerless he really was, all because of something as small as a slipper. Suddenly, one of the boys hits him, demanding the money he was supposed to bring every week. The rest join in, throwing punches and insults. One says anyone who doesn't listen deserves to be beaten, while another laughs about how Gilso doesn't even have the courage to talk back anymore. They keep hitting him, shouting that next week he better bring double the amount. As the blows keep coming, Gilso's thoughts blur with pain. He realizes how weak he's become, unable to defend himself at all. Coming back to the present, he stands before Jang once again. Determination burns in his eyes as he begs to be trained, admitting he can't live like this anymore. Jang gives a faint smile, remarking that it's his responsibility to make weak students stronger. After his first class, Gilso walks out holding his side, feeling like Jang might have actually broken one of his ribs. He remembers being told to come back after the break to do it all again, and that thought alone makes him realize how intense this training is, but also how it's slowly making him stronger. Lost in thought, he's suddenly called out by a friend who's surprised to see him still around after submitting his dropout form. When Gilso mentions that he's decided to stay, his friend can't help but smile, thinking maybe this kid's finally growing some courage. As they talk, Kang shows up with his gang, mocking Gilso for returning and throwing a few taunting remarks his way. On his way past, Kang leans in and mutters a quiet threat meant only for Gilso to hear, before walking off with a smirk. The words hit hard, but instead of fear, they spark anger inside Gilso. He clenches his fists, determined that one day he'll be strong enough to make Kang pay for every humiliation he's ever faced. During break time, Gilso is shown facing Jang, who's mercilessly training him through brutal punches. Each hit lands hard, forcing Gilso to stay conscious and focused even as blood spills from his mouth. Kang doesn't let up, demanding that he keep his eyes open and learn to read every strike. When Gilso tries to protest, calling the whole thing insane, Kang only hits harder, declaring that this rooftop will be their training ground for the next few days. The beating continues until Gilso, battered and gasping, realizes this fight isn't a lesson. It's a complete one-sided assault meant to push him past his limits. As night falls, the arena lights up where Kang dominates another opponent with vicious precision. Students watching whisper about how cruel he's become since his fight with Gilso, joking about the headbutt and the puke incident that humiliated him. Their laughter fades when Kang suddenly appears, daring them to fight him instead. They quickly back down while Kang walks off, muttering in frustration. Rejoining his friends, he asks about Gilso's whereabouts. They tell him Gilso hasn't been seen since break, and that he might have already rejected the arena. Remembering Jang's words about Gilso no longer being under the arena's protection, Kang grins to himself, already plotting something. Meanwhile, Gilso is out on the field, drenched in sweat as he runs laps. He pushes his body to its limit, thinking that strength alone isn't enough, he needs speed too. His focus breaks when the roar of motorbikes approaches. A group of delinquents speeds toward him, deliberately ramming into his side. Gilso stumbles as one of them yells about his scratched bike and demands money, claiming he owes millions for the damage. Our boy is stunned as he hears the outrageous amount demanded and tries to explain that he was only the one who accidentally bumped into the bully. Before he can react further, the main thug grabs him by the head and punches him hard to the ground while the others laugh and mock him in the background. The bully continues ranting about how he didn't listen and that he must pay for the damages. Surprisingly, our boy feels no fear at all despite the beating and the threats. He also remembers Jang's brutal training and how much pain he endured. Gathering his courage, he breaks free and throws a punch straight at the bully's face, shouting inside that he won't be afraid anymore. But the bully easily catches his fist, showing no reaction at all. Shocked, Gilso tries to land more blows, swinging wildly with everything he has, yet the other boy dodges each hit like it's nothing. His mind races, realizing that all the training he's had still isn't enough to hurt anyone. The bully grows angrier and lands a brutal kick to Gilso's face, sending him stumbling as blood spills down. The rest of the gang grabs him and mocks him for even trying to fight back. Then their leader straps iron rings to his hands, ready to teach Gilso a painful lesson. Just as he raises his fist, Jin suddenly appears and drives his knee straight into the bully's face, making him reel back in shock. Gilso watches in disbelief as Jin moves fast, taking down one of the attackers with a single punch and knocking out another who charges him with a metal rod. The whole scene turns in an instant, with Jin standing tall while the others fall around him. The gang's girl nearby watches in terror, fearing she might be next, and tries to help her fallen friends. Gilso, observing Jin, notes how unexpectedly strong he is, realizing he isn't just an average guy. Meanwhile, Jin internally calculates how close he came to serious danger from the metal rod. The girl, furious, advances toward Jin and threatens to call her seniors, but the bully leader steps in, stopping her and pointing out that one of their attackers is from 6 gates high. Recognizing the situation, the bullies back off, mount their bikes and ride away. Watching them leave, Jin mutters to himself about how pathetic they were and asks how he got involved with them, and whether Jing had instructed him. They sit together, discussing the fighting arena and how training alone isn't enough, so Gilso is also working on stamina. Jin teases Gilso about his moves during the fight, acknowledging that while he performed well, he isn't ready to handle multiple opponents yet. He expresses a little envy that Gilso had the chance to train with Jing. Gilso recalls the moment the bully realized he was from 6 gates and left quickly. Jin explains the significance of 6 gates high, noting it's a school famous for producing fighters, and that its gang history goes back to a time when even ordinary students engaged in violence. Gilso listens, realizing that his school carries a reputation that explains why the bullies back down. Jin explains how Jang built the fighting arena at their school and introduced new rules that made everyone follow them, which stopped most of the fights in 6 gates. He warns that if the arena or Jang ever disappears, the school could quickly return to chaos, since there are still troublemakers who want the old violent ways back. With this, the scene shifts inside the fighting arena, where a boy quickly admits defeat, but Kang's friend mocks him and calls over a new student to fight. The new guy hesitates, but Kang's friend insists that the rules of the arena don't allow refusal. Meanwhile, from above, Kang and his gang are amused by the beating of the new students, with Park showing them their place. Back in the ring, Park aggressively attacks the new student, landing a punch and then kicking him, enjoying the chaos while Kang watches. When Kang steps forward, tension rises as the other students speculate about who will fight him. Kang points to a boy and insists he step up, explaining that no reason is needed to fight and that simply being there is enough to challenge him. Kang grabs the guy by the throat, glaring and challenging for rejecting the arena rules like Gilso, but just then Jang arrives, creating a tense atmosphere. Kang tries to explain that he only wants to fight in the arena and that there's been a misunderstanding, but Jang grows visibly angry. The scene shifts to reveal Kang and his friends discussing the backstory. They talk about how Gil-so was the first to refuse participating in the arena, and how Jang treats everyone as equals, which leaves a lasting impression on those who enter. Kang notes that many people only like watching fights and never actually participate. So whether the fighting arena exists or not, those who are weak or lazy remain losers. Kang and his friends discuss how most people avoid trouble and hide behind rules, but Gil-so exposed a loophole in those rules that irritates them. Kang plots to exploit the rules to force losers to fight and turn the fighting arena into their playground. Coming back to the present, Jang approaches Kang, warning him not to break any rules, and reminding him not to gamble with luck. Kang brushes it off and leaves, smirking. The next day, Jang trains Gil-so relentlessly, pushing him to his limits. Gil-so is pummeled and feels like he might not survive. But when Jang swings for a punch, he blocks it, realizing he's not as afraid as before. He tries to strike back, but Jang dodges easily, making Gil-so understand that he can't win until he learns to stop his opponent first. Gil-so starts throwing a flurry of punches, but one slips past Jang, making him annoyed. With this, he hits Gil-so hard in the stomach, and he collapses to the ground. Feeling the force was stronger than usual, Jang tells him to stop making weak noises when he attacks and gets close, showing him the 1-2 combo, saying that mastering it can win any fight. Later, they arrive at an arcade club where Jang points out a punching machine and begins teaching Gil-so the proper stance. Hands near his face, chin tucked, hips and shoulders aligned. 1 foot back, then jab with the left and transfer all power into the shoulder for a final strike. Jang lands a punch that shakes the machine violently, earning a point, and Gil-so tries to copy it. He swings with all his might, but the score barely moves, leaving him stunned at how much harder it is than it looks. Jang points out that Gil-so's punch is weak and hits the machine again, showing that it only registers a score when the power crosses a certain threshold. When Jang lands a strong punch, the machine rewards him extra points, and he tells Gil-so that he must hit harder than the punches the machine recognizes. He instructs Gil-so to find his own form and not reveal it until he earns enough points. Gil-so notices that Jang already has a score over 9,999. Meanwhile, in the school hall, a young man is walking, looking at his phone when he bumps into Kang's friends. Instead of helping, they knock his phone from his hand and laugh, pretending it was an accident while hinting that it could lead to a fight in the arena. The guy panics and insists it was his mistake, but the friends mock him and walk off, warning him to watch where he's going. Just then, Jin steps in to support the shaken guy, suggesting they report the incident to the student council, but his friend advises letting it go, saying raising the issue won't help. In the cafeteria, Gil-so eats quickly, feeling famished after hitting the punching machine over 100 times without the score moving, realizing how tough it really is. As he focuses on his food, Park suddenly jumps out and deliberately tips his plate onto him. The boy awkwardly pretends it's an accident, then recognizes Gil-so and acts overly familiar, slapping him to clean him up before trying the same move again. A flashback shows the boys talking about the earlier incident where they shoved the guy and he apologized. Kang decides they should drag Gil-so into the arena to teach him a lesson, while Park insists he can handle it alone and tells Kang to trust him. Back in the present, Park moves to strike Gil-so again, but Gil-so grabs his hand, stopping him. The guy sneers, teasing that when Gil-so gets angry, he actually looks quite cute. Hearing that, Gil-so wonders what to do next, remembering Jang's warning that he will remain banned from the arena until his training is complete. Determined, he prepares his punch, knowing he's trained a lot for this moment. Suddenly, a plate flies from behind and hits Park in the face. Jin threw it while scolding him, showing that people shouldn't even disturb others while eating. Gil-so is shocked as Jin, in rage, walks toward him, warning him to stay within his limits. Park gets angry and confronts Jin, questioning if he's gone crazy and what he's trying to do. Jin apologizes lightly, insisting this isn't school violence, which only makes Park more furious, and silent curses fill his mind. Jin teases that he actually wants to fight Park properly, and invites him to the fighting arena, promising to teach him well. Outside, Gil-so apologizes to Jin for causing trouble while he washes his clothes. However, Jin laughs it off and clarifies that he wasn't upset with Gil-so and never intended to fight for him. His goal was to teach Kang and his group a lesson because he couldn't tolerate their aggression in the arena. Hearing this, Gil-so's anger spikes as Jin explains that Kang and his gang pick weaker opponents to assault, using resistance as an excuse to escalate. Jin admits he never got a chance to fight them himself, and couldn't just watch the arena get ruined. When Gil-so asks why he cares if he's strong enough to not need the arena, Jin reveals that he once went through a dark period similar to Gil-so's experience. He recalls being a fat boy and getting bullied by his peers even on the streets. Once they tied him to a pole and humiliated him for his large body. Despite his pleas, he was severely bullied throughout middle school, and at times the thought of death felt like a relief. However, a big guy came to his rescue and saved him from the bullies. As the bully ran away, Jin thanked him, but instead of replying, the guy handed him a flyer about diet boxing and asked if he was interested. Seeing the paper, Jin became curious about boxing and later learned that the man who rescued him was the director of a nearby boxing gym. He tried boxing for the first time and became obsessed, training intensely until he transformed completely. His skill and strength grew and he eventually beat up the boys who once bullied him, leaving them panicked and apologizing. After his transformation, nobody dared to bully him again, not even those who acted tough before. Jin explains to Gilso that although Jung's rules in the fighting arena are strict, he appreciates that you can fight using your power without fear of sneak attacks, which is why he wants to protect it so much. Determined, he faced Park in the ring for a fight. The crowd watches as Jin and Park stand off, exchanging taunts before the referee calls them to start. Gilso watches silently, wishing Jin luck as the fight is about to begin. The fight kicks off as Park attacks Jin immediately, but Jin dodges every strike with sharp reflexes. Surprised, Park realizes Jin is faster than he expected and continues throwing punches, all of which Jin evades before landing a powerful hit to Park's face, leaving everyone in shock. Blood flows from Park's nose as he struggles to keep up, noting Jin's impressive speed, precise footwork, and boxing technique. Jin follows up with a series of punches while Park's own strikes remain weak. Park tries to counter with a low attack, thinking he can catch Jin off guard, but Jin shifts his fist mid-move and lands a heavy punch on Park's chin, demonstrating control and skill as he smiles at the impact. Jin's punch lands hard, causing blood to pour from Park's mouth as he falls, realizing that Jin baited him on purpose. The crowd erupts with excitement, and Gilso watches, thrilled at how strong Jin really is, noting that Park hasn't landed a single blow. Two boys nearby comment on Jin's power, remarking that Park's winning streak is ending today. Back in the ring, Park keeps attacking, but Jin dodges every strike with ease, which frustrates him as he struggles to connect a single hit. Jin then counters with precision, showing Park that his wide attacks are ineffective, and lands another powerful punch to his face, leaving him reeling. Jin lands a strong punch that knocks Park back, telling him that the fighting arena isn't for those who are weak and that he should stop picking fights. Park looks at Kang standing nearby, and despite being struck, steels himself, smiling as he admits that Jin is better at boxing. The crowd is shocked, and Gilso feels a twinge of nervousness. Park then gets serious, lifts one leg, assumes a proper fighting stance, and challenges Jin to continue. Jin anticipates that Park might go for a kick and moves quickly to counter with one of his own. But Park stops it effortlessly, leaving Jin shocked at his strength. Park then pulls back a punch to create space and immediately moves forward again, preparing another kick. Jin tries to block it with his arm, but the force hits him like a massive moving object, showing just how powerful Park's kick is. Park strikes again, knocking Jin back, and even when Jin tries to block with both hands, the bones in his hands crack from the impact. The boys who were cheering earlier are stunned, and Gilso grows very nervous, shouting Jin's name. Jin steps back to recover while realizing that Park's kicks are on a completely different level from his punches, making him respect the raw power he's facing. Just then, Park moves forward, and Jin knows another kick could be dangerous, but Park switches to punching instead. Jin struggles to block each strike, distracted by the threat of his kicks and finding it hard to react properly. Park lands powerful punches and then suddenly strikes Jin's leg with a heavy kick, sending him to his knees. Jin grabs his leg, realizing he can't get up, and braces as Park aims for his head. At the last moment, the referee blocks Park's kick with his own, declaring that advancing on an unfit opponent is unfair. The referee is revealed to be Hyo Gunung, a third-year student council member whom Jin decides to just call the ref. Park walks away, amused that the fight was stopped early, while giving a creepy smile to Gilso, hinting that the fighting arena will only get more intense in the future. But this time he stares without fear. After the fight, Gilso helps Jin walk, noticing how much pain he must be in. Jin admits that the loss hurts more because it boosted the confidence of the troublemakers in the fighting arena. Gilso points out that he was winning at first, but Jin reflects that Park's kicks were far stronger than he expected, recalling the fear he felt when one came straight toward his head. They reach a safe spot and Jin thanks Gilso for supporting him, suggesting he drink some water before leaving. Gilso insists he has somewhere to go, and Jin is confused as Gilso suddenly runs off in a hurry. The scene shifts to a classroom, where a boy gives a shoebox to Kang as a gesture of appreciation for joining their gang, but it's essentially a bribe for Kang. The leader tells them that he values talent over gestures, and the boys accept the guidance, promising to try their best. Just then, Park arrives and tells Kang that Gilso hasn't come to school. Kang explains that the situation has changed because defeating Jin proved their strength, and anyone weaker is now terrified. Park laughs, but Kang warns that attacking someone like Gilso now would ruin their reputation. A tall boy from their group questions whether they should recruit through the fighting arena, but Kang remarks that it's time to move to the next step, since the first years have already been defeated. They arrive at a gambling spot where the third-year boss, Sun-sik, demands to know why they're there. Kang steps forward, reminding Sun-sik of his legendary brother and pointing out that Jang has sidelined him, which angers Sun-sik. He grabs Kang by the collar, but Kang stands firm, explaining that the situation has changed and that his frustration is why he's challenging him. Sun-sik is left confused as Kang declares that it's time to make a move in the fighting arena. Meanwhile, on the school rooftop, the referee complains to Jang about the first years abusing the rules and how it could shake the foundation of the arena. He notes that Hane's little brother is involved. Jang listens quietly and reflects that even if the rules were broken, the fighting arena must stay intact, questioning whether intervening would really fix anything. Just then Jang's phone rings, and he notices Gilso calling. The scene shifts to the gaming club where Gilso sits on the floor, having scored a perfect hit on the punching dummy, which is covered in blood. Jang is surprised, and Gilso requests him to teach the next lesson. Earlier, after running away from Jin, Gilso rushed somewhere, recalling Park's intense glare in the fighting arena and telling himself he needed to get stronger fast. He reached the gaming club and began striking the training dummy with all his might, thinking that hard work was his only option and that even weak fists could win if he struck enough times. He remembered Jang's lesson about hitting with full force and finding his own form. Gilso adjusted his stance to put all his power into his punches, finally earning points on the machine. He kept punching relentlessly, his hands bruised and bleeding as the score climbed higher and higher from 134 to 78 to 391, until he reached 4628 and eventually maxed out at 999 points. Back in the present, Gilso faces Jang and asks for the next lesson. Jang, surprised at his rapid progress, agrees, and Gilso explains that he had no choice but to train hard without wasting time. Hearing that, Jang nods and prepares to move on to the next stage of training. Jang instructs Gilso to prepare for the next, very challenging part of his training. Gilso collapses against Jang's chest from exhaustion, and he smiles, noting that rest is also part of training. Next night at the fighting arena, Park looks around, surprised by the small crowd, and mocks the few spectators. Suddenly, Choi Sok, a second-year student council member, appears and steps forward, ready to teach the disrespectful first-year a lesson. Park grows uneasy at the sight of him. Choi points out Park's dragon tattoo and criticizes him for fighting over trivial reasons. The referee watches silently, thinking that the situation can't continue unchecked, ready to enforce justice if needed. Just then, the door suddenly opens and everyone turns. Sun-sok, the third-year student, enters with his followers, ready to stir things up in the fighting arena. The referee immediately grows furious at his presence, but Sun-sok brushes it off, claiming he's still a student and here to fight. Kang steps in behind him, teasing and challenging the referee, while pointing out that new faces make the arena more exciting. The scene shifts to a dark reconstruction site where Gilso steps in, uneasy about the eerie atmosphere. Jang's voice comes from behind, and Gilso turns to see him standing by the gate. Catching his attention, Jang starts explaining the history of Six Gate High School, how it became the strongest school after dominating the Jungmyeong area, and how the other schools scattered. Gilso listens, confused, wondering how this ties into his training. Jang then points out that they are now standing in the territory of Jinsang Technical High School, a group of real punks, leaving Gilso shocked. Jang laughs while explaining that even though schools no longer officially fight, entering another school's territory is a provocation. Gilso grows alarmed as he suddenly slams the main gate shut and orders him to find the other open gate using his own strength, leaving him shouting in frustration. Suddenly, a motorcycle roars up and a biker appears, questioning who's shouting so loud in their territory. Gilso freezes as the biker smirks and recognizes him as a Six Gate High School student. These are the same boys who bullied Gilso on his way home. Memories of the past flash back, including the girl who had almost attacked Jin, reminding him that these are the strongest first years from Jinsang Technical High School. This time, though, the girl warns him that things are different. One of the boys steps forward with a grin, slipping on his brass knuckles and mocking Gilso, but pauses slightly, surprised by his calm glare. He mockingly wonders if the boy has anything to say before he beats the living crap out of him. However, he doesn't know that Gilso is muttering all the basics he learned about boxing and getting ready for an attack. As he gets into his stance, instructing himself, he throws a light upper punch that barely connects, then follows up with a powerful punch that sends the boy flying and crashing to the ground with blood pouring from his nose and mouth. The other three freeze in shock while Gilso smiles proudly, realizing his technique is finally working. Back in the ring, Sun-seok dominates Choi, holding him by the throat as he desperately pleads. Sun-seok laughs, enjoying the chaos and mocking the student council's weakness. Before things go out of hand, the referee steps in, warning them not to go too far and to fight opponents at their own level. Seeing the referee, Sun-seok finally releases Choi and surveys the nearly empty arena, noting that many students have stayed away, probably out of fear. Despite this, Sun-seok continues roughing up Choi while laughing, and the referee notices Kang smiling nearby, wondering if this is what Kang planned by bringing in Sun-seok. From the sidelines, Kang challenges Sun Seok to hold a proper scheduled fight instead of causing chaos in the fighting arena, and hints to the referee that he no longer needs to protect the empty arena. The referee struggles to contain his anger as Sun Seok demands a real fight elsewhere, provoking even more frustration. Back at the school grounds, Gilso takes control in the territory, breaking a boy's nose with a punch and smiling at his success. Another boy tries to hit Gilso but gets sent flying, and a third boy meets the same fate. The group is shocked and panicked, realizing this might be the same formidable kid from before, while more boys arrive yelling to drag the Six-Gate High student out. Gilso freezes when he sees so many guys and realizes he can't fight them head-on, so he decides to use a tool. He jumps onto a guy's bike, perching on the side as the boys shout and laugh at him struggling to ride it. Then he lets go, letting the bike barrel through the group, forcing them aside while he pushes through and beats up anyone in his way. Someone yells to grab him, but Gilso keeps moving, thinking about how much he misses the fighting arena. Spotting a tall building ahead, he heads inside with the other boys following him. As our boy reaches the top of the stairs, he holds his ground and dares the others to come at him as they arrive. One by one they climb up, but Gilso lands heavy punches that knock the first two down, slowing the others behind them. On the narrow stairs, he uses the high ground to his advantage, taking them on one at a time while thinking he might escape if he keeps this up. Just as he feels hopeful, a boy from above comes down with a powerful kick that knocks Gilso to the floor. Doing that, the attacker complains about being interrupted mid-meal by someone in a Six-Gate uniform. Gathering himself, Gilso spots a tough guy on the upper floor and rushes to attack, but he takes a hard punch to the face and realizes this guy's strength is on another level. The boy orders the others to beat Gilso within 10 minutes, then leaves, leaving Gilso to face a group of punks suddenly encouraged. One swings a bat while another kicks him, but Gilso blocks and dodges with both arms, thinking this fight won't get him anywhere. The senior starts walking down the stairs, complaining about how useless the first years are. However, to his surprise, Gilso manages to fight his way down, jumps from above, and smashes his head against him, injuring him before tumbling to the floor. The senior shouts at his boys for failing to stop Gilso, threatening them furiously, but Gilso laughs and uses the chaos to escape the building. He spots the rear entrance and heads for it, but the roar of a motorcycle behind him makes him pause. The biker stops in front of him with someone tied to the back, revealing the motorcycle's owner. Smirking, the rider mocks Gilso for defeating his boys and laughs at his appearance, calling him cute. This boy is Hwang Hyukjin, the boss of Jinsang Technical High School. Gilso watches in anger as the boss drags someone behind his motorcycle and thinks this is pure psycho behavior. The rest of the boys who were chasing Gilso finally catch up to them. The boss greets them casually and notes they must have lost to Gilso too based on their appearance. He orders them to wait while he gives them the same love he just delivered to the boy he dragged. One of the seniors protests and insists they can handle Gilso themselves. This angers the boss enough that he releases a powerful aura that moves like a snake while warning them not to touch his prey. The display frightens all the other boys into silence. Meanwhile, Gilso takes this moment to assess his opponent and realizes this must be the boss of Jinsang Technical High School. He notices the boss is shorter than him and less muscular than Jang, which makes him think he might actually be capable of winning this fight. He decides not to waste time and remembers Jang's advice about using 1 and 2 combos against any opponent. With this, he moves forward and attacks with a back fist, but the boss dodges by bending down. Doing that, he laughs at the attempt and calls Gilso cute before grabbing both of his legs. The boss's grip shocks Gilso as he feels the incredible strength behind it. Before he can even react, the guy slams him hard into the ground, making him bleed. Laughing at his own brutality, he tells Gilso not to pass out yet since they're just getting started. Then, without hesitation, he grabs Gilso with both hands and slams him down again, this time with even more force, causing further injuries. As the pain overwhelms him, Gilso begins to fear he might actually die from the beating. Nearby, one of the boys who had been chasing him earlier laughs at the scene, commenting that the hospitality is going well and questioning why Gilso even came here. Back at the fight, the boss lifts Gilso up by the collar, mocking him to struggle more because of how cute he looks. In response, Gilso kicks him hard in the face and calls him a midget, asking why short people keep calling others cute. Then turning the insult back, he calls the boss cute instead. What is this foreplay? This immediately sets the boss off, and he angrily repeats the word back at Gilso. Watching from the side, the senior boy becomes frightened and remarks that Gilso really wants to die. Another boy, confused, asks what the problem is, prompting the senior to explain. He reveals that the boss was bullied for being short when he was younger. Because of this traumatic past, no one is allowed to use the word cute around him under any circumstances. The sudden shift in atmosphere throws Gilso off, as he watches the boss's demeanor change completely. Determined to fight back, he forms a fist and tries to attack, but the boss climbs onto him with both feet, laughing and telling him to enter his hell. Without pause, the boss takes Gilso down to the ground and wraps his legs around him in a hold that prevents Gilso from breathing or moving. The boss laughs and thanks him for being such a cute and tasty meal. The senior watching nervously announces that the triangle choke from hell has started. He explains how this technique works like a snake coiling around its prey to suffocate it. He details that anyone caught in this move becomes helpless since they can't use their arms or legs while getting beaten, and can't escape until they lose consciousness. The boss continues to beat the ditty out of Gilso while laughing and asking if he still thinks he's cute. Gilso realizes through the beating that this fight exists on a completely different level compared to his previous encounters, and genuinely feels like he might die. The other boys react in shock as they watch Gilso attempt to lift both himself and the boss off the ground. Even the boss seems surprised at this unexpected display of strength. Despite the effort, Gilso realizes he can't break free from the hold. Amused by his struggle, the boss laughs and calls him cute again, spinning as he declares that Gilso now belongs to him forever. Then, with force, he brings them both back down to the ground. Not letting up, the boss tightens his hold, wrapping his legs around Gilso even more severely while gripping his neck with his hands. He taunts him, mentioning that Jinzang's record is 7 seconds, and wondering how long their cutie can last. As Gilso struggles against the hold, he feels himself on the verge of blacking out. Desperate to stay conscious, he fights to maintain his focus, refusing to lose to someone like this ever again. Gilso's eyes begin to close slowly as his legs stop struggling against the hold. The boss releases him and laughs while calling him cute again. He grabs Gilso's clothes and drags him away while commenting on how fun this is and announcing his intention to play more with him. The senior takes advantage of the situation, sneaking away with the others, since the boss seems to have lost interest in them. He urges everyone to leave quickly, warning them to go while they still have the chance. Meanwhile, the boss drags Gilso toward Jinsang, unaware that Gilso hasn't actually passed out. As his eyes open slightly, memories from his past flood back, and he recalls the fainting game his bullies used to play on him before his transfer. The flashback shows boys surrounding Gilso from all sides, one of them laughing about how his eyes are rolling and how long he lasted. He reflects on how people used to bet on his endurance, finding entertainment in his suffering. To survive, he explains that he relied on using his pinky finger to protect his carotid artery, a weak person's method of survival. Back in the present, Gilso spots a stone and picks it up. The sound catches the boss's attention, making him look back just as Gilso thinks about how this blood represents a miracle born from his past pain. Seizing the moment, he slams the stone hard into the boss's face, knocking him down. The commotion draws cries from everyone around them, shouting in alarm for their seniors. Gilso seizes the opportunity and runs away, glancing back as he thinks he knocked the boss out. Determined, he focuses on reaching the gate to escape. Suddenly, the boss calls after him like a snake chasing prey. The voice startles Gilso, freezing him for a moment. Before he can react, the boss closes in, insisting they should play together, moving dangerously close. Panicking internally, Gilso wonders how the boss can still move after being hit with a stone, but he notices he's almost at the exit. Just then, a commanding voice cuts through the tension, and a lion's aura appears on the scene. It's Jang, arriving like the king of the jungle, before whom every animal seems insignificant. The boss halts immediately, calling out his name. Jang glares at him, identifying him as Huang Hyukjin from Jinsang Technical High School. He warns that any next attack will be considered an attack against all of Six Gate High School. The boss realizes that one of his feet is already outside the gate, while the other remains inside, meaning he has technically left Jinsang's territory. Huang speaks, mentioning that something felt off, and referring to their connection to Gilso. He expresses his excitement, wanting to fight Jang Chung as well, and moves forward to attack, declaring that Six Gate's era has ended. Without hesitation, Jang delivers a tremendous punch directly to his mouth, drawing blood. Even Gilso watches in shock at the sheer force. Commenting on the situation, Jang says that the kids from Jinsang Technical High School haven't made any progress and only behave properly after getting hit. Turning to Gilso with a smile, he explains that he's already gone through this stage. He notes that only the last step remains, and instructs him to come to the rooftop starting tomorrow. Gilso smiles in response, feeling a mix of relief and anticipation. The next morning, Gilso walks straight into class brimming with confidence and calls out his bully to the arena after school, trash-talking that he's dead meat. Deep down, he knows he still hasn't learned the final part of Jang's training. Just a few moments ago, Jin was getting bullied by Park and his gang, even with his broken arm. Ignoring his injury, Park mocked him, slammed him to the ground, and began stomping on it while the other students watched nervously. Meanwhile, Park's gang was loving every second of the chaos. Despite the pain, Jin reminded them that they were breaking the rules, but Park didn't care. Just as he raised his hand to strike again, Gilso appeared and blocked his arm. This is when things escalated, with Park challenging him, telling him to meet at the arena after class to settle things once and for all. Park laughs when he sees Gilso and mockingly calls him their vomit boy while grabbing his hand. As he looks closer, he notices the bandages wrapped around Gilso's arm and teasingly asks if he's been training alone to learn how to guard. Annoyed by the comment, Gilso jerks his hand away and angrily challenges him to a match in the fighting arena. Amused by the sudden outburst, Park wonders where this newfound bravery came from. Grinning, he accepts the challenge as he walks away, promising to show Gilso what the arena is really like these days. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Jang stands deep in thought when the referee bursts through the door, demanding to know where he was last night. Catching his breath, the referee reveals that Seon Seok came to the fighting arena with Kang and warns that the situation is getting worse. Instead of worrying, Jang smiles at the news, finding it rather interesting. The referee reacts with disbelief, reminding him that the arena is already on the verge of collapse. Unfazed, Jang explains his philosophy, that if the arena collapses over something like this, then it deserves to. He compares it to a polluted river that purifies itself naturally, saying that power suppression or perfect rules were never what made the arena enjoyable. To him, meaningful change only happens organically, not through one person's control. Back in Kang's classroom, Kang asks Park to confirm that Gilso really challenged him to a fight. Park nods, explaining that Gilso suddenly became bold and seems to have been working out, judging by the bandages on his arm. Confidently, he promises to finish Gilso properly in the arena. Kang listens quietly, then responds that getting involved with a loser like Gilso won't benefit them right now since their focus should be on removing Jang. Park, however, dismisses the warning, vowing to cripple one of Gilso's arms so he'll never bother them again. Kang warns that while winning is a given, allowing someone like Gilso to challenge them so easily will make others question their dominance. He reminds Park that all their effort to destroy the fighting arena depends on maintaining flawless victories, urging him never to let his guard down. As he speaks, he recalls how Gilso kept rising like a zombie during his fight with him despite being badly beaten, calling him a persistent bug. Meanwhile, outside, Jin's friend angrily confronts Gilso, demanding to know what he was thinking by challenging Park after seeing how he fights. He points out that even Jin couldn't beat Park and questions how Gilso expects to win. Hearing this, Gilso begins to realize he acted impulsively and starts doubting whether going against Jeng's instructions about the final training was the right choice. His mind flashes back to Jeng's words, telling him to come to the rooftop for his last training session. Jin tries to stop him, urging Gilso to cancel the fight and explaining that even with Jeng's training, fighting is still dangerous for him. He warns that those who left school and now fight in the arena use dirty tactics, insisting the result is already obvious. Concerned for his friend, he offers to handle Park himself once he recovers. But Gilso refuses, reminding Jin that he got injured while protecting him. He reflects on how the morning hallway incident used to be his everyday reality, being ignored and treated like a circus clown for others' entertainment. With quiet determination, he says he doesn't want to become like those people. Instead, he declares that his first opponent should be Park. He wants to finish what started in the cafeteria, and insists he's ready, no matter how dangerous Park might be. As word spreads, students head toward the fighting arena, discussing rumors about Gilso completing special training. They debate whether that alone is enough to beat Park Yong-ho, but excitement fills the air as they rush to watch. Before long, the arena is packed with a massive crowd eager to see the fight between Gilso and Park. When Jin and his friend arrive, they're stunned by the turnout, noting it's the biggest gathering since they enrolled. Watching the crowd, Jin admits that Gilso's impact from his last two fights was huge, and explains that the true appeal of the fighting arena lies in how it levels the playing field, where strength matters less than the will to fight. Inside the arena, Park arrives early and immediately starts complaining, furious that Gilso dares to come late. Behind him, one of his boys jokes that Gilso probably got scared and ran away, while the other agrees that it sounds just like him. Hearing this, Park laughs, saying it'd actually be better if Gilso ran since they could finish him off properly outside instead. Meanwhile, Jang appears and quietly takes a spot in the upper area, observing as the crowd grows restless, wondering when the fight will start. Murmurs spread as the spectators realize Gilso still hasn't shown up, and irritation starts to build. Some begin shouting, thinking it might all be a joke. Smirking, Park declares that Gilso has fooled everyone again and won't be showing up, suggesting someone should just tell him to drop out for good this time. Down below, Jin's friend nervously asks if Gilso really ran away, but before anyone can answer, a voice from behind cuts through the noise, asking why he would ever drop out. The entire crowd turns, and shock ripples through them as they see a boy in a hoodie. Their jaws drop when they realize it's Lee Gilso, now sporting a completely new look with short-cut hair. As he steps forward, Gilso opens his hoodie and declares that he never felt coming to school was pointless. Trying to hold it in, Park bursts out laughing at Gilso's haircut. The crowd quickly joins in, mocking his appearance and comparing him to someone joining the army or a total otaku. Up above, Jang watches with a faint smile, not mocking but quietly approving. Unbothered, Gilso takes off his hoodie completely and steps into the ring, warning Park to laugh all he wants, since he won't be able to for long. In response, Park reminds him that Jin was just as confident before getting beaten down. But Gilso fires back, saying they'll see who gets beaten today. At that moment, the referee steps forward and requests them to get ready, as the crowd erupts into thunderous cheers. Standing in the center, Gilso reveals his improved physique as he settles into his fighting stance. In his mind, he reminds himself that the old match is over, and that this time, he'll win, even if it costs him his life. With that, the referee signals the start, and the fight begins. Without hesitation, Gilso rushes forward and throws a punch, but Park swiftly dodges it, remarking that good intentions alone aren't enough. In an instant, he counters with a solid hit to Gilso's nose, drawing blood. Wasting no time, Park launches a barrage of punches, promising to make Gilso regret fighting so fearlessly. Gilso tries to dodge, but several blows still land hard. Mocking him, Park asks if he's been practicing on punching bags at some boxing gym and reminds him that this isn't training. Realizing the gap between them, Gilso notes how incredible Park's speed and power truly are. Smirking, Park taunts him to guess where his next slow punch will land before slamming another tremendous blow into him. From the sidelines, the crowd shouts in frustration, yelling at Gilso to stop standing still and counterattack instead of just taking hits. Up above, Jang and the referee watch closely. The referee comments that everything is going as expected and predicts the crowd will only get louder if this keeps up. But Jang smiles faintly, questioning if that's really what he's seeing, and suggests the referee look closer at who's actually more focused in the fight. Back in the ring, Park laughs, declaring that Gilso was born to be a punching bag. However, his confidence wavers when Gilso suddenly stands up again. Puzzled, he asks why Gilso isn't even defending anymore. Inside his mind, Gilso reminds himself that his fight has only just begun. The scene shifts to a flashback, where Gilso is seen apologizing to Jang before the fight for failing to complete the final training session. He admits that he couldn't stand the situation and signed up for the match out of anger, breaking the rule that fighters must complete all training first. Instead of scolding him, Jang calmly reveals that they'll have to change the plan. Before Gilso can respond, Jang suddenly rushes toward him with a grin, announcing that this crash course will replace the final training. Without warning, he delivers a tremendous punch that sends Gilso flying across the rooftop. Taking a deep breath, Gilso charges forward, forcing Jang to step back, but every punch he throws gets blocked with ease. With calm precision, Jang mocks him that he's too slow and weak, nothing like a proper fighter from Six Gates. Hearing this, Gilso silently admits it's true. He's still inexperienced. Even so, he refuses to give up, telling himself he has to win no matter what. Fueled by determination, he finally lands a punch on Jang's cheek. In response, Jang Chung smirks and reveals to him that if he truly wants to win, he must first drop his defense. Back to the present. Jang and the others watch in shock as Gilso goes all out against Park, throwing rapid punches one after another. From the stands, Jang realizes that Gilso's training with Jang has clearly paid off. However, despite his fierce onslaught, not a single punch connects. Effortlessly, Park dodges every strike and mocks him before countering with a heavy punch to the face. Even after taking the hit, Gilso refuses to back down. Instead, he grabs Park's waist tightly, holding on with all his strength. The crowd, however, remains unimpressed, calling the fight boring and one-sided, claiming Gilso is just getting beaten up again. Park bursts out laughing, mercilessly kneeing Gilso in the face while telling him to stop struggling. But to everyone's surprise, Gilso doesn't let go. Inside his mind, he thinks to himself that everything is going exactly as planned. In his flashback, he recalls the final day of his training with Jang. During that session, Jang had told him that once he drops his guard and learns to read his opponent's movements, that's when the real fight begins. At the time, Gilso had tried to grab Jang's waist the same way he's doing now, only to get beaten down again and again. Each time, Jang reminded him that predicting an opponent's next move is difficult, but it becomes easier once they stop moving. Gilso throws a punch that lands squarely on Jang's face during training. However, Jang barely flinches and calmly explains that holding too tightly only leaves him open to counterattacks. To prove his point, he drives a hard punch into Gilso's stomach, sending him stumbling backward. Gasping for air, Gilso realizes he can't rely only on defense if he wants to win. Before he can recover, Jang closes the distance and aims another punch at his face. This time, Gilso blocks it with his forehead, refusing to step back. Impressed but firm, Jang tells him not to aim for big hits right away. Instead, he advises trapping the opponent and wearing them down until the perfect opening appears. Back to the present. Gilso puts that lesson to use, landing a solid punch to Park's ribs. Caught off guard, Park didn't see it coming and reacts with anger, striking Gilso in the face while cursing. Even then, Gilso doesn't let go. He keeps his grip tight and continues hammering the same spot again and again. With each blow, Park's pain grows, and he begins to realize this tactic is becoming a serious problem. Meanwhile, Jen watches wide-eyed from the crowd as everyone erupts in disbelief. Someone in the stands whispers if this is dirty boxing, but Jen immediately recognizes the move. It's a close-range tactic designed to land repeated punches from inside the guard. Frustrated and furious, Park finally breaks free and takes a step back, still shouting at Gilso. Breathing heavily, Gilso steadies himself and notices that Park's guard has dropped. Seeing his chance, he tightens his stance and rushes forward with a punch aimed straight at Park's face. But Park reacts fast, dodging it easily, and laughing as he mocks Gilso's predictable move, body first, then head. Watching from above, Jang narrows his eyes. He remembers instructing Gilso that training alone can only take him so far. In his words, once inside the ring, all training should be forgotten, because real fights are unpredictable and full of surprises. He had told him not to overthink his technique, but to stay calm, trust his instincts, and wait for the right opening. Back in the present, that opening finally appears. In one swift motion, Gilso grabs Park's head and unleashes a furious punch. Before Park can react, he realizes in shock that the earlier strike was only a feint. With his eyes locked in, Gilso winds up one final hit, and with perfect timing, delivers a massive blow that sends Park flying backward. Gilso lands a massive punch squarely on Park, shouting that this was unexpected too. The entire arena freezes as Park crashes to the ground, leaving the crowd gaping in disbelief. For a moment, silence fills the air, then it erupts. Excitement surges through the spectators as Gilso pumps himself up, declaring that this is only the beginning. In an instant, the kids start chanting his name, calling him the vomit transfer student, while cheering louder than ever. Meanwhile, Park pushes himself up, fuming and trying to regain composure. He convinces himself that the hit was nothing more than a lucky wild swing. Determined to prove it, he charges forward to strike again. But before he can react, Gilso counts out loud and lands two sharp punches straight to Park's face. As Park staggers, Gilso adds two more hits in quick succession, slamming him back and leaving the crowd roaring in amazement. From the upper deck, the referee watches with a grin, impressed by Gilso's precision and control. Beside him, Jang laughs softly and explains that at this level, stamina and mental strength make all the difference. He points out that sudden, unpredictable attacks like Gilso's can completely shatter an opponent's focus, and now the momentum has clearly shifted in Gilso's favor. Down in the ring, Park collapses again, blood dripping from his nose. Jang watches nervously from the crowd, sensing that something about Park's reaction feels off. Slowly, Park drags himself upright and lifts his gaze toward the upper stands. There, Kang and his two friends stare down coldly with their expressions heavy with expectation. In that moment, Park remembers warning him that they worked hard to bring the fighting arena to their school, and that he has to keep winning no matter what. Humiliated and angry, Park curses under his breath, realizing how bad this looks. Determined to turn things around, he steadies his breathing and shifts into the same stance he once used to defeat Jen. He glares at Gilso and declares that he's done playing around. It's time for the kickstance. Recognizing the danger, Gilso tells himself he can't afford to hesitate. He charges forward, hoping to end the fight before Park gains control. But in a sudden blur of motion, Park swings his leg and lands a brutal kick across Gilso's face, sending him flying through the air. Dazed and reeling, Gilso wonders what kind of kick that even was. Before he can hit the ground, Park closes the distance and drives another kick deep into his stomach. Without stopping, he continues hammering Gilso with a barrage of relentless kicks, shouting furiously that a loser like him should know his place and stay down where he belongs, like the trash he is. Park unleashes his fury on Gilso with a series of brutal kicks, each one landing with crushing force. Under the relentless assault, Gilso struggles to stay upright, feeling every blow slam into him like a cannonball. He can barely breathe, let alone counter. In that painful moment, his mind flashes back to his conversation with Jin, who had warned him that Park's legs weren't normal, that he'd done something to make his kicks far stronger than before. Snapping back to the present, Gilso clutches his side and finally understands why Jin was so worried. Every strike feels less like a kick and more like being hit by an iron rod. Meanwhile, Park smirks at his struggling opponent and mocks him, saying that frightened look suits him perfectly. Without hesitation, he drives another vicious kick into Gilso's face, sending him crashing to the ground. Standing over him, Park looks thrilled, almost proud of the pain he's causing. That cruel grin triggers something deep inside Gilso. Memories flood back of the people who tormented him before, of the laughter and mockery that came with every bruise. He realizes Park is no different from those monsters who once enjoyed watching him suffer. Fueled by that thought, Gilso refuses to stay down any longer. Summoning all his strength, he pushes himself back up just as Park winds up for another kick. This time, the kick lands squarely on Gilso's butt and then stops dead. Park freezes, staring in disbelief as Gilso holds firm, blocking the blow by thrusting his hip forward. From the crowd, Jin and his friend gape in shock, whispering if he really just used his butt to block that. Meanwhile, Gilso stays calm, thinking to himself that he knows exactly where it hurts less. After all, years of bullying taught him which parts of the body could take a beating. However, Park bursts out laughing, thinking this has to be some kind of joke. He mocks Gilso again, saying this ridiculous trick can't possibly save him. But when he kicks once more, Gilso blocks it the same way, then again and again. No matter how hard Park attacks, Gilso keeps using his hips to deflect the blows, standing firm each time. The crowd can't hold it in anymore. They burst into laughter, cheering and joking about Gilso's bizarre new move. Some shout that new fighters always come up with creative techniques, while others laugh and ask what kind of defense this even is. Even Jin joins in, chuckling at the absurdity, but deep down he recognizes the truth. He explains quietly that Gilso is actually being smart. Despite how funny it looks, the butt is one of the most cushioned parts of the body, and right now it might just be the best defense Gilso has. Back in the ring, Park grows frustrated and mocks Gilso, telling him to try defending with his head instead. With that, he aims a powerful kick at Gilso's head, but Gilso dodges it effortlessly, noticing that the strike was slow enough to see coming clearly. From the sidelines, Jin observes Park slowing down and recalls something strange from their own fight. He remembers that while Park's kicks were incredibly strong, he seemed oddly reluctant to use them, as if he didn't want to kick at all. Jin deduces that the more powerful the kick, the greater the risk involved. Meanwhile, Gilso closes the distance, focusing on Park's face when he notices something unusual on Park's pants. Before Gilso can process it, Park suddenly punches him hard in the face, sending him flying backward. Laughing, Park taunts that Gilso didn't see that coming. He complains about how much trouble Gilso keeps causing, but insists it will all end now. Raising his leg, he prepares to finish Gilso with another kick. Just in time, Gilso calls out Park's name. Startled, Park freezes mid-kick as Gilso seizes his leg, laughing and declaring that his kicks have become far too slow. With a sharp pull, Gilso yanks Park off balance and slams him hard to the ground. Cursing, Park struggles to recover as he lands. Holding onto the leg, Gilso pieces things together in his mind. He realizes that the impact from each kick feels like being hit with an iron rod, and the harder Park kicks, the slower his movement becomes. During those slow strikes, Gilso had noticed a strange glint inside Park's pants, right along his leg. Acting quickly, Gilso grabs at Park's pants. Internally panicking, Park desperately hopes Gilso will stop. But before he can react, Gilso tears the fabric and shouts angrily that he's caught him. As he tears his pants, it reveals a metal band strapped at Park's leg. The crowd erupts in shock the moment they see an iron band strapped to Park's leg. Realization hits Gilso immediately. This explains why he kept losing strength so quickly against those brutal kicks. In an instant, the arena fills with chaos as students explode with rage, shouting at Park and calling him a dirty cheater. Their voices rise together, demanding he get out of the ring and hurling insults with every word. Up above, the referee hesitates and asks if the match should be stopped, but Jiang simply smiles and suggests he wait, sensing the fight is already nearing its end. Without wasting another second, Gilso, pinning Park down, unleashes a relentless barrage of punches. Each strike lands harder than the last, driving Park backward as disbelief flashes across his bruised face. Despite his cheating, Park can't understand how Gilso still has this much strength left. Blow after blow, his face swells under the punishment, and Gilso's anger burns hotter with every hit. In that moment, he recognizes the same fear in Park's eyes that once lived in his own, the helpless terror of being completely overpowered. But now that version of him no longer exists. With a final burst of fury, Gilso drives his punch into Park's body, sending him sprawling to the ground. Seeing enough, the referee rushes in and waves his arm to stop the match, loudly declaring Gilso the winner. The arena erupts once more, this time in thunderous cheers as the crowd chants Gilso's name with wild excitement. Meanwhile, Park lies unconscious on the floor, refusing to accept what just happened. Barely lifting his head, he spots Kong and his two friends walking away. Desperation fills him as he mentally pleads for them to wait, insisting this isn't over. But when Kong glances back, his expression is cold and filled with contempt. Around him, the furious crowd begins pelting stones and cans, shouting that even with cheating, he still lost pathetically. Their anger builds, promising they'll deal with him again tomorrow. Cowering under the barrage, Park shields himself and wonders in disbelief how everything fell apart so fast. Amid the chaos, Gilso steps forward and extends a hand toward him. His voice is calm but firm as he tells Park to pull himself together, because even with armor, he's still lost. He admits he wanted a fair fight, but rules are rules, and suggests they settle things properly next time. The referee can't help but laugh, commenting that this new student is more interesting than expected, especially since he's actually offering a handshake after a fight like that. Smiling from above, Jiang agrees, remarking that Gilso has finally become a true Six-Gate high school student, and perhaps even more unpredictable than anyone imagined. A sudden laugh cuts through the noise as a boy steps forward, mocking that Six-Gate school must have fallen low if people are watching such pathetic matches. The crowd immediately turns, surprised by his boldness. Without hesitation, he grabs Park by the hair and taunts him for losing to a small kid while pretending to be the top dog. The guy is Sun-Sok and his tone drips with scorn as he asks how Park plans to face the seniors after graduation. From the sidelines, Gilso also watches in shock, unable to believe who this really is. Then from behind, Jiang's voice rings out, asking what Sun-Sok wants. With a smirk, Sun-Sok replies that it's been a long time and calls Jiang a traitor. His tone grows colder as he declares he can no longer tolerate this filthy arena. In one sweeping statement, he announces that starting now he'll crush the Six Gates. In response, Jang smiles calmly and remarks that he thought Sun had rotted away somewhere. Yet here he is, showing off in front of everyone. His expression shifts and an intimidating lion-like aura begins to radiate from him. With confidence burning in his eyes, he warns Sun that he'll show him what a real arena looks like. The tension thickens as the two stand face to face. Jang on one side, Sun on the other, while the crowd buzzes with excitement, thrilled at the chance to witness this legendary showdown before graduation. Meanwhile, Gilso looks confused and turns to Jin for answers. Jin explains quietly that before the arena was ever established, Sun used to compete with Jang for the title of the strongest at 6th Gate. Hearing this, Gilso reacts in disbelief, unable to imagine anyone standing on Jang's level. Back in the ring, Sun stomps the ground hard, cracking the floor beneath him. He stretches his arms, saying it's been too long since their last rematch. Jang responds casually, admitting that just refreshing those old memories already makes him nervous. The air grows heavy as Sun Seek calls him cheeky, and suddenly bursts forward with terrifying speed. The ground trembles from the impact, scattering everyone nearby. The crowd gasps, shouting about his monstrous strength and worrying that the entire arena might collapse under the force. Just then, Jang sidesteps the attack with effortless precision, his movements calm and calculated. Without missing a beat, he tells Sun this is exactly what he was aiming for. A confident smile spreads across Sun's face hearing that, and he launches a lightning-fast punch. Jang reacts instantly, dodging all the blows, moving like water, slipping past every attack with ease. From the sidelines, Gilso watches in disbelief, his eyes wide with awe. He turns to Jin, asking how Sun's body can move with such agility. Jin observes carefully, noting that Jang's defense is still flawless. He's dodging every kick perfectly. Even so, Gilso's worry grows as he wonders what will happen if Jang actually loses. In a low tone, Jin explains that if that happens, the arena will collapse, and 6th Gate will return to its old chaotic state. He adds that Sun is the reincarnation of Hanhei, a name that leaves Gilso confused, unaware that Hanhei is Kang's older brother. Back in the ring, suddenly, Sun's aura surges outward, twisting into the shape of a massive bear. The ground trembles as he declares that Jang is nothing but a coward who runs away. With pride burning in his voice, he claims that while Jang may have won before, he's completely different now. Before anyone can react, Sun dashes forward at terrifying speed and attacks again. Jang ducks low, narrowly avoiding the strike, but a thin cut opens on his cheek, and blood begins to trickle down. Seeing the hit land, Sun laughs triumphantly and immediately presses his assault. Forced onto the defensive, Jang blocks and retreats while Sun mocks him, saying the so-called top dog is nothing special after all. With a roar, he throws a powerful punch that drives Jang backward across the arena. Watching the fight unfold, Gilso clenches his fists and wonders how Jang can possibly defeat this monster. Jang's expression hardens as he admits that Sun has gotten stronger, so strong that even though Jang's skills are superior, he's being completely overpowered. He speculates that Sun must have undergone some kind of secret training. Moments later, Jang stumbles under the relentless blows and crashes to the floor. Seeing this, Sun bursts out laughing and slowly walks toward him with confidence radiating from every step. With cold satisfaction, Sun raises his leg high and declares that Jang has lost miserably before commanding the traitor to die. Jang glares up at him, rage flashing in his eyes. As Sun swings his leg down, the crowd gasps, convinced that it's over. But in the very next instant, Jang moves and his fist connects cleanly with Sun's face in a devastating punch. The impact echoes through the arena as he asks, almost mockingly, how Sun is any different from before. The force sends Sun Seek flying, crashing hard against the ring ropes. Before the crowd can even process it, Jang is already standing in front of him again, his movements blindingly fast. He remarks coldly that this has become a waste of time and needs to end now. Without hesitation, he unleashes a storm of punches, each one heavier than the last. Sun Seek reels from the blows, his mind reeling in shock as he realizes just how monstrous Jang's strength truly is. Finally, Jang draws back his fist and drives it deep into Sun's stomach, the sheer power of the hit shaking the entire arena. Jang declares that this has gone on long enough and it's time to end it. Without hesitation, he drives a devastating punch straight into Sun Sook's stomach. The impact thunders through the arena, sending Sun flying across the floor as the crowd gasps in disbelief. Watching the scene unfold, Gilso can hardly believe his eyes. He feels a mix of awe and admiration, realizing just how powerful Jang truly is. For the first time, he understands what a real battle between the strongest fighters of 6th Gate High School looks like. As the dust settles, Jang turns his head and spots Park trying to slip away from the chaos. With a sharp tone, he calls out, demanding to know where Park thinks he's going. He starts walking toward him, his presence alone radiating authority. Jang reminds him that anyone who breaks the rules must face punishment. The moment Park hears his voice, his entire body freezes. Slowly turning around, he meets Jang's piercing gaze and trembles in terror. Jang's expression hardens as he orders Park to come lie down so he can demonstrate what happens to rule breakers. Moments later, the scene shifts to Park kneeling on the arena floor. Towering above him, Jiang holds a thick iron rod in his hand. Panic floods through Park's mind as he imagines the blow landing. He knows if a monster like Jiang swings that thing, he won't survive. Breaking down in desperation, Park begs for forgiveness and insists this isn't what it looks like. But Jiang doesn't respond, his cold eyes fixed on him as he repeats his order for Park to lie down. In a moment of blind panic, Park grabs onto Jiang's leg and starts crying, claiming he was forced into everything and is just a victim. The crowd murmurs in surprise, watching the humiliating scene unfold. Through tears, Park promises again and again that he'll never act like this in the future, and pleads to be spared just this once. Jiang finally lowers himself to Park's level, sitting in front of him with visible anger. In a firm, icy tone, he repeats his command to lie down. Terrified, Park obeys and lowers himself to the ground, trembling as tears stream down his face. He knows this is the end, and feels his heart pounding in his chest. Raising the iron rod high, Jiang warns him to clench his teeth if he doesn't want to pass out. Park sobs and obeys while his entire body shakes as he braces for the strike. Then, in one swift motion, Jiang swings the stick down with terrifying force. Park shuts his eyes, drenched in sweat and trembling uncontrollably. In sheer terror, he even loses control and wets himself. But just before the rod makes contact, Jiang stops it an inch away from his butt. A beat of silence follows before the crowd erupts into laughter. Everyone bursts out laughing, pointing and shouting as they realize what just happened. Some mock Park for peeing himself, while others cheer and call it a legendary moment in arena history. Meanwhile, Jiang just looks down at Park and tells him he has no shame left in the arena. With a stern tone, he adds that he'll let him go this time, but warns it won't happen again. Among the crowd, Kang watches quietly with his unreadable expression. Then, with a heavy stomp, he declares that everyone has now witnessed what a real arena looks like. A place where fighters rely on strength and spirit, not tricks or cheating, only fair battles, he says, decide who's truly strong. His gaze sharpens as he warns that anyone who dares to bring arena fights into school or break its rules will face consequences. No one will be spared, not while he remains leader. He turns his eyes toward Kang and his friends, making it clear who the warning is for. Finally, Jiang raises his voice and proclaims that the arena is a sacred place where true warriors are tested and where every fighter deserves respect. The moment he finishes, the entire crowd erupts into cheers, shouting his name with renewed admiration. The next day, on the quiet rooftop, Jiang trains again. Each punch he throws at the heavy bag lands with explosive force, echoing through the air. When Gilso arrives, he pauses for a moment, amazed that Jiang is already back to training after such an intense fight. Without turning around, Jiang questions why he's here, saying he has nothing more to teach. If Gilso came for more lessons, he should leave. Gilso quickly explains that he didn't come to train, he came to thank him. Still punching, Jiang assures there's no need for thanks. He simply did what had to be done. Gilso nods quietly, but he can't help thinking that Jiang feels distant today, his usual warmth replaced with cold determination. After a moment's hesitation, he gathers his courage and admits there's something he's curious about. That finally makes Jiang stop and turn around, looking straight at him. Stepping closer, Jiang reveals to Gilso that there's actually someone he wants to show him. He explains that since Gilso followed him better than expected, there's much he wants to say. With a rare hint of pride, he acknowledges how hard Gilso has worked. Overwhelmed, Gilso bows deeply, thanking him from the heart. He doesn't fully understand what Jiang means, but something about his aura feels different, calmer yet heavier, as if he's carrying a secret. The scene then shifts to the arena, where the crowd roars as another fight unfolds. Since Jiang's speech, the arena has returned to normal, but now the atmosphere is fiercer than ever. Every day, pure, intense battles fill the air, each one driven by pride and power. The referee steps forward and calls for the next match. Gilso enters the arena, with his expression full of quiet confidence. The crowd immediately begins chanting his name. A faint smile crosses his face, one that's different from before. Through countless fair fights, he has changed. His fists have grown stronger. His instincts are now sharper. He can now read the rhythm of combat and strike precisely when an opening appears. As the match begins, Gilso charges forward with his swift and fluid movement. He lands a clean hit to his opponent's face, then follows with a crushing blow that ends the fight in seconds. The crowd explodes into cheers as Gilso lets out a fierce scream, feeling the rush of victory surge through him. The arena has become his world, a place that fuels his passion and strength. Meanwhile, far away, inside a dimly lit juvenile facility, Kang walks down a narrow corridor and stops in front of a cell. From the shadows, a familiar voice greets him, saying it's been many days since their last meeting. Kang lowers his head respectfully and greets the man as his brother Hanhei, now imprisoned in juvenile rehabilitation. With a calm but dangerous smile, Hanhei says he expected to hear some interesting news. He asks how things are going. Kang answers quietly, admitting that everything has gone wrong as a loser appeared and ruined their plans. Worse, Sun Sok failed to defeat Jiang. Hearing this, Hanhei suddenly bursts into laughter so loud it echoes through the hall, ignoring the quiet notice nearby. He mocks Jiang for acting like he's become a big shot, saying it's only because the real master is gone. Leaning closer, he declares that just because Jang calls himself the leader, doesn't mean he truly is. In that moment, it becomes clear that Hanhei, the man behind bars, is none other than the former leader of Six Gate High School and the true power that once ruled over them all. Kang assures his brother not to worry, explaining that he already has a plan in mind. He adds that if the school approach fails, they'll simply try another method. Hearing this, Hanhei responds with a cold lesson, saying that only those who've worn a leash themselves can put one on others. His words carry a warning for Kang to stay in line and not make any mistakes. The sharp tone leaves Kang visibly shaken. As Hanhei rises from his chair, he mentions that their father will help him get out in a few months, which brings visible relief to Kang. However, before leaving, Hanhei turns back with anger flashing in his eyes and orders Kang not to ruin the family's name. He promises that everything will be taken care of once he's released. Kang nods and agrees, clenching his fist tightly, though it's unclear whether he feels anger, guilt, or determination. The scene then shifts to Gyung, who sits in a chair grinning with excitement because he's finally been asked out on a date. On his phone, a message from his girlfriend GD invites him and his friends to hang out with her group in a 3-on-3 setup over the weekend. Feeling thrilled, Gyung rushes to ask Gilso and Jin for help. At first, Gilso hesitates, admitting he's never done anything like that before, while Jin mentions he has gym training that weekend. Even so, Gyung insists this time is different since GD asked him first. Jin rolls his eyes and reminds him how many times he's misread signals before. Gyung argues that being invited out on the weekend is proof enough that it's real. Seeing how desperate he looks, Gilso suggests they help him out anyway, though Jin jokes that he has a talent for being wrong. Frustrated, Gyung offers to buy them hamburgers if they come, and when Jin adds dessert to the deal, they finally agree. Later at the cafe, Gyung can barely sit still, fidgeting with his drink as Jin teases him about how many cups he's already had. Gilso quietly observes him and wonders who this girl really is to make him so nervous. As he looks outside, he spots a beautiful brown-haired girl approaching and instantly feels drawn to her, guessing she might be GDA. When Gyung waves toward the group, Gilso realizes his friend has surprisingly high standards. A moment later, a red-haired girl, actually GDA, walks in with the brown-haired girl and another friend. The girls apologize for being late, explaining that the bus was delayed. Gyung quickly tells them it's fine and introduces his friends. GDA greets them cheerfully and suggests they all have fun together. As they sit down, Gilso debates whether he should have come, since GDA is clearly Gyung's crush. But that thought fades fast when the brown-haired girl introduces herself as Jung Mi and sits across from him. In that instant, Gilso feels genuinely happy he decided to come. They order coffee and the mood lightens as GDA asks about their school life. Gyung tries to sound modest, saying he's just a normal student, but Jin immediately calls him out for never paying attention in class and spending all his time watching idol fan cams. Gyung nearly spills his drink while trying to defend himself, but Jin keeps going, adding that he just sleeps through most classes. GDA looks surprised, mentioning that he studies hard at the academy, which makes everyone burst out laughing. Meanwhile, Gilso sits quietly, feeling out of place as everyone else chats and laughs around him. The noise makes him even more hesitant to join in, and he wonders if he should have stayed home. Noticing his silence, Mi turns to him and gently asks if he doesn't like talking. Her question catches him off guard, and he quickly denies it, feeling a mix of surprise and excitement that she approached him first. As they start talking, Mi admits that she also dislikes loud crowds and feels more comfortable in quieter settings. Hearing this makes Gilso relax, realizing they actually have something in common. The two begin to connect over being listeners rather than the ones who lead conversations. Curious, Mi asks about his MBTI and suggests they might share the same type, which makes Gilso smile for the first time that day. Just as their conversation starts to flow naturally, Jin cuts in and suggests they all head to a nearby coin karaoke place. Once they arrive at the karaoke spot, Jin-hee playfully asks Jin how good he is at singing. Jin shrugs and says he's average, which makes Jin-hee laugh, teasing that people who say that are usually great singers. Amused, Jin invites her to see for herself, and Jin-hee eagerly agrees. Before Jin can enter the karaoke room, Jing stops him with a hand on his shoulder and awkwardly tells Jin-hee they need to use the washroom. Jin looks confused, saying he already went, and tries to go inside, but Jing blocks him again. Tension rises as he demands to know what Jin's problem is today, shocking both Jin and Gilso. Unable to hold back, he accuses Jin of having deep conversations with Jin-hee instead of helping him win her attention. Jin shouts back, arguing that he was just trying to help him with his talks. The heated exchange pushes Jing over the edge, and he challenges Jin to settle things in the arena. As their voices grow louder, Gilso feels trapped and embarrassed while people around them start staring. Wanting no part in the argument, he awkwardly excuses himself, saying they probably need to talk things out, and slips away. While leaving, he can still hear them bickering over who understands girls better, which makes him sigh in disbelief. Alone in the hallway, Gilso reflects on how those two always end up fighting but can't help admiring Ging's confidence compared to his own shy awkwardness. His thoughts drift to Midi again, how stunning she looked, how calmly she spoke, and how even her name sounds beautiful. Smiling to himself, he heads back toward the karaoke rooms, wondering if he'll get a chance to talk to her again. As he approaches, he hears a tense voice asking what the problem is. Looking inside, he spots Midi facing a boy who seems to be bothering her. The boy pressures her to join him and his friends in the next room for a so-called 3-on-3 setup. Midi firmly says she already has a group, but the boy laughs it off as a lie and grabs her hand. When Gilso steps in, the boy scoffs and mocks him as a loser, proudly announcing he's from the Baxen group, where great people gather. Despite hearing that, Midi tries to pull her hand free while the boy taunts her, asking what she'll do if he doesn't let go. Seeing this, Gilso clenches his fists and steps forward, ready to intervene. But before he can move, Midi surprises him by taking a fighting stance. In one swift motion, she grabs the boy's shirt, shoves him forward, and warns that if talking doesn't work, she'll make sure he regrets it. Midi slams the boy to the ground with a sharp, powerful move, hitting him hard enough to make his nose bleed. The impact leaves Gilso completely stunned, unable to believe what he just witnessed. Nearby, Ji-hye holds her head in frustration, and admits she was worried ever since the boy grabbed Mi's hand. Confused, Gilso asks what's going on, but Ji-hye calmly tells him not to worry, explaining that Mi may look gentle but is actually terrifying when angered. Before Gilso can process that, the boy staggers back to his feet, cursing under his breath as he charges at Mi again. She doesn't even flinch. With quick, precise movements, she dodges every strike and counters with several clean punches to his face. Watching in disbelief, Gilso turns to Ji-hye, who casually explains that Mi has trained in self-defense since she was a kid. Her brother taught her everything, and over the years she's become so skilled that most guys can't even come close to matching her. The fight ends with a single powerful kick from Mi that sends the boy crashing backward. As he hits the ground, Ji-hye continues the conversation as if nothing unusual happened, mentioning that Mi's brother goes to 6th Gate High School, and coincidentally has a one-letter name like hers. Gilso freezes for a moment, shocked by the detail. His mind races as he tries to think of anyone from 6th Gate High with a one-letter Jang family name, and only one name surfaced, Jang Chung. Before he can ask, Ji-hye confirms it with a nod, saying it's exactly who she meant. At that moment, Mi steps forward and presses her foot on the defeated boy's head, telling him he should have let go when she gave him the chance. A loud voice suddenly shouts from behind, mocking the guy for getting beaten instead of bringing girls. Mina looks up sharply and spots two more boys stepping out from the nearby room. Her expression hardens as she warns them that they're done for today and should back off. Ignoring her warning, one of the boys charges forward, yelling and demanding to know who she thinks she is. Before he can even reach her, a strong punch lands squarely on his face, sending him sliding several feet across the ground. The punch comes from Gilso, who grabs the boy by his shirt and angrily asks how they dare to gang up on a girl. Watching from the side, Jay looks impressed and remarks that Gilso is something else, noting that people from 6 Gates are on another level. Min nods in agreement while Gilso turns to her asking if she's hurt. She smiles and thanks him, assuring him she's fine, then asks if he's okay after stepping in. Gilso laughs it off, saying it's nothing compared to 6 Gates training, which makes Min chuckle as she admits they would have been in real trouble without him. A moment later, Gyung and Jin rush to the scene, looking confused as they see everyone gathered outside. Gyung asks what's going on, but before anyone can answer, Ji yells at them for showing up so late and points toward where the thugs had been. When they turn to look, the boys are already gone. The group stands puzzled, realizing their attackers have fled. Meanwhile, a short distance away, the same 3 thugs are shown walking down a dimly lit street, muttering angrily about 6 Gates. The tattooed one mentions that Youngnim will definitely be interested in what happened and swears revenge on Mi. Later, as the tension fades, Gilso and Mi walk side by side, chatting quietly while the others walk ahead. Behind them, Mi turns to Gilso and asks when he started fighting. He avoids the question and instead praises her skills, saying she handled herself really well. Deep down, he thinks about how his own training has helped him survive situations like this, and notes that Mi doesn't resemble Jong at all, despite being his sister. As they talk, Gilso mentions that her brother trained her and adds that he's grateful because Jong also helped him a lot after he transferred to the school. Mi stops for a moment, surprised, and realizes that Gilso must be the first-grade transfer student her brother once mentioned. Gilso, curious, asks if Jong actually talked about him. His mind drifts back to something Jong said in the past, how he wanted to show someone something. Gilso wonders if Mi was who he meant, though another thought crosses his mind that makes him embarrassed, realizing that she might get to know all of his loser image by her brother. Just then, she surprises him by holding out her phone. She says her brother once mentioned finding someone interesting, and that she realized it was him. Smiling, she suggests they stay in touch. Relieved and happy, Gilso gladly exchanges numbers with her, thinking to himself how thankful he is that he decided to come along today. Meanwhile, at a dark construction site, a group of gangster boys surround a victim whose mouth is wrapped in plastic. The muffled boy thrashes helplessly, struggling to breathe, until the boss finally rips the plastic off his face. Gasping for air, the boy begs for mercy and promises to return the money soon. The boss smirks and tells him there might be another way to make up for it, by becoming a player. Desperate and terrified, the boy immediately agrees while coughing and clutching his throat, marking the beginning of something much darker. With this, the boss turns toward his men, revealing that they're the same three who fought against Min and Gilso earlier. The tattooed one steps forward and respectfully addresses him as Hyungmin, reporting that someone dared to lay hands on members of the Boksan group. Before he can finish speaking, the boss suddenly grabs his lips and yanks hard enough to draw blood. He demands to know if the boy seriously let himself get beaten by a girl. The boy tries to explain, stammering in fear, but his words only make things worse. The boss kicks him repeatedly, furious that he's brought shame to the Boksan name. Another boy quickly steps in and clarifies that it wasn't just anyone. They fought students from 6 Gates. The mention of 6 Gates immediately catches the boss's attention, and his anger shifts into interest as he listens more carefully.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.